Hello, my wonderful subscribers. Please excuse the lighting. It is a very rainy weekend here in Florida, but it kind of feels perfect to shoot a video about loneliness. Loneliness is one of the worst feelings because if you are not mentally set up to either use it to your advantage or deal with it, it can really destroy you. Loneliness can cause us to become bored, and that's when we're more susceptible to self-sabotage with bad habits. It can also cause us to sabotage ourselves when we text people that we know we probably shouldn't be contacting simply because we don't want to be alone. Sometimes we're lonely by choice. We have decided to separate ourselves from an abusive relationship or a toxic friend group. Sometimes it is not our choice. We've been ditched, rejected, kicked to the curb. Sometimes you can have people all around you and you still feel lonely because you don't think anybody can understand what you're currently going through. And that can also make you feel very alone. I've personally been through all of these types of loneliness, so grab a bottle of nail polish, let me know in the comments what color you are showing your self-love with today, and let's talk. I wanted to show my self-love today with Orly's Plastic Jungle because I thought it was on theme. Yeah, it rains a lot in the jungle, doesn't it? And then I realized I was thinking about rainforests. In my experience, the biggest way I set myself up to be vulnerable to loneliness was when I hinged way too much of my personal identity outside of myself, whether it be a career or a person. Whether that was succeeding or failing, that was telling me who I was. When you don't know yourself and you don't know who you are, then when no one else is around, you have nobody. And yeah, that's lonely. I went through a bad breakup with a guy that I really liked. And trust me, the breakup was not my choice. I was not excited for the separation. That itself was really hard to deal with. But what made it worse is that I had completely connected my self-worth to what he thought of me. Plus, my hobbies were his hobbies. My social circle was his friends. I practically lived at his house. And oh yes, I worked with him. We were coworkers. I wrapped my entire life around him because I really liked him. But what does Maria like? What does Maria do with her weekends? What does Maria do in her spare time? Apparently nothing, because when he left me, I spent a lot of time in bed watching TV. It was pretty miserable. Oh, and as a side note, if the loneliness wasn't bad enough, trust me, when you wrap your entire identity and life around another person, it fills you, the thought of losing them fills you with so much fear because it's like you're losing yourself too. And kind of like me, I didn't want to lose him because if I didn't have him, it felt like I had nothing. Poof, there goes everything. There goes hobbies. There goes all my friends. There goes my social weekends. And because of this fear, I was in total denial about the breakup. I could not let him go. And that, I really set myself up there to be treated very badly because he broke up with me. He didn't care how he treated me anymore. He was probably just trying to get rid of me. I can't even imagine what he was thinking. Like, man, I broke up with this girl 2 months ago. My God, how bad can I treat her so she will finally leave me alone? And I did finally leave him alone, and I was all alone. And I'm telling you this story because let me tell you how I got myself in this situation. I got myself in this situation with this guy because right before I met him, I went through a different kind of season of loneliness, and I fixed that loneliness the wrong way. I had been involved with some friends that I didn't think were good for me anymore, and I chose to be lonely. I chose the loneliness. I separated myself from them, and it was like, yeah, this sucks, and my social life is gone, but it's not worth being around toxic people. Well, after a couple of months, of course, I wanted to get out there and start making a new friend group. And one of the first people I met was that guy I was just telling you about where the relationship didn't work out. So I fixed the loneliness the wrong way. Instead of getting out there and developing my hobbies and doing things just because I wanted to do them and find out who this new Maria was outside of a toxic friend group, I hitched my wagon to the first guy that thought I was cute and revolved my entire life around him. I accidentally made myself vulnerable to more loneliness in the future. And that's exactly what happened when we broke up. But you know, after that breakup, I was pretty lonely. It lasted a few months. But when I got back out there, this time I did it the right way. I joined a group of people that were interested in the same thing that I was interested in, and it had nothing to do with any other person. It had nothing to do with trying to find a guy, it almost didn't even really have to do with trying to find new friends. I just left my house and started trying to do things that I was interested in, and as a result of that, I met new people. And after a while, I wasn't lonely anymore. People can smell desperation. And in my experience, if you want something too badly, people, they can just sense it all over you. And the more you want it, the farther away it gets from you. Kind of like when you get out there and your only intention is to, I want a boyfriend, I want a boyfriend. I mean, no one wants to hang out with salespeople because you almost end up promoting yourself to other people. Like, this is why I'm worthy. This is why you should date me. This is why you should hang out with me. It's a weird energy and people do not like to be around it. But let's say you join a meetup group with people who like, in my town, there's a meetup group called Thrifty Bitches, and it's a group of people that just like to go thrift store shopping. And you join that group because you're interested in thrifting, and you're like, hey, I'm not here to meet anybody, and I'm not necessarily here to make friends. I'm just interested in this. It takes pressure off of you, and it takes pressure off of everybody else. And they're more likely to come towards you instead of you lunging at them and them being like, whoa, why does this person feel like they need to tap dance for my approval? What's wrong with them? Have you ever gone through a time in your life that was really hard or traumatic? Doesn't necessarily have to be a breakup. There was a time for me when I closed a business that I had for almost a decade, and I was none too happy about it. This was also about the same time that I realized that a lot of my relationships weren't working the way that I felt they should be working, because if you can imagine, I was dealing with the insecurity and the fear of losing my job. I can't even imagine how I was coming off to people who were meeting me during that period in my life. It couldn't have been pretty, because I couldn't really get people to want to hang around me, and that's the wrong mindset anyway. That's where I was at. And I went through a season of loneliness, because even though I had family and people who loved me in my life, I felt like nobody understood what I was going through, and I was very depressed. A lot of times when we go through something traumatic, one of the biggest problems isn't necessarily leaving your house and meeting people. There are people everywhere. It's you are so afraid. You've been hurt by people. You've just gone through a really bad experience with another human being or a group of human beings, and you're scared of people now. That can make you very lonely, because the thought of leaving your house and meeting people, you're like, ugh, that hurt last time. That hurt me. I'm scared. I don't want to risk feeling that way again. Here's how I dealt with that. I dealt with that very slowly. I did not want to see people or talk to people, but it was really getting to a point where I knew I had to do something. So I started by getting a job. This was actually my dog walking job I have now, where I did deal with people, but not very much. It was mainly like 90% of the time it was animals. Only 10% of the time it was people. So I slowly started dipping my toes into the social pool again. Then after that, I decided to get back. I've always been into fitness, and when I was very depressed, of course, I stopped doing the thing that I love to do. And I didn't want to go to a gym and deal with a bunch of people. So what I did is I got a personal trainer. And what that allowed me to do was go to the gym just once or twice a week. We're talking about going very slow after any kind of traumatic event in your life where you have found yourself very alone afterwards. The benefit of having a trainer was I only had to focus on dealing with one person, but organically, because that trainer's probably worked at that gym for a while, they know other people that work out there, so other gym goers will randomly walk up to them, say, hey, how's it going? Then your trainer introduces you to those people, and you slowly start introducing more people into your life. And as a result of that, I am making more friends at my gym, but there wasn't a lot of pressure of like joining a fitness class right away where you are out there and you're dealing with 15 people all at once in a super high energy situation. So yeah, definitely going back to a hobby. So at first it was getting a new job that didn't involve a lot of people, but some human interaction. Getting a hobby that was the same thing. It involved some people, but not a lot of human interaction, but did pose the opportunity to meet other people that were interested in the same hobby that I'm interested in. This is very important. This is another thing I will say about loneliness. If you are going through loneliness, social media will make you feel even more lonely. That is something else I did. I took a lot of basically every social media platform off of my phone. It's totally fake. And it gives you this idea that we're all supposed to be constantly living our best lives and going out every weekend and lights and so much energy and woohoo. And honestly, that's not even how people live their lives. It's not real. And it will make you feel like everyone else is having a great time, and it'll make you feel even more alone. I know this because years ago, when I was going through some of my seasons of loneliness, social media didn't exist. But I've also been very, very lonely when social media did exist. Connecting online is not the same as connecting with people face to face in real life. It didn't matter in my existence if social media was a thing or not a thing. The internet didn't exist. The internet did exist. It didn't matter what type of loneliness I was going through. When all was said and done, the thing that helped get rid of my loneliness was leaving my house and interacting with people. But do it the right way. Don't leave your house with a desperation of, I need to find this guy, because loneliness sucks so bad that as soon as you find one person that gives you a hit of dopamine, your brain is going to attach so hard to that one person. Do it the right way. Think of something you want to do. There are actually meetups in almost every city. You pay a fee and you join the meetup every month, and it's got hundreds of hobbies on there and groups that people have started that you can just join in. And you might be like, yeah, well, that kind of thing costs money every month. Well, guess what? So does all your streaming services that you're sitting on the couch every weekend watching. So does all that fast food that you have, DoorDashed into your house. I mean, how badly do you want to fix this problem? The why has to be stronger. There is a lot of fear when it comes to actually leaving your house and meeting new people, but your why has to be stronger. You do not want to go through this life alone. You do not want to go through this life only having relationships on a screen. Yes, they are necessary for some things, and sometimes they're great. I love that people come and we can all support each other and try to improve our lives. But eventually, I've got to put the phone down. I had to turn the television off, and I had to leave my house and get out in the world and start interacting with people. Hi, Mungo. My kitty cat's feeling very lonely right now. The point is, be kind to yourself. If it is something that frightens you, go slow. Do what I did. One step at a time, one thing at a time. You have to realize, especially if you've been through something really traumatic, you gotta be real good to yourself and treat yourself with kid gloves, and don't beat yourself up for going slow. Because you know what? When I was younger, in those original seasons of loneliness I had, if I had taken the time to slow down and do it correctly, maybe that wouldn't have kept happening to me. I wouldn't have kept making myself vulnerable for more loneliness because I was attaching myself to the wrong things and attaching way too hard because I hadn't bothered to learn what I liked, what I wanted to do. Really looked at hey, why am I alone? Am I the common denominator? And if I was choosing to be alone because I wanted to better myself, what does this better version of me want to do? You can change anything. Oh my goodness. I have used this color before once, and I remember I wore it on my nails for a long time. I really loved it. It does not matter. You could be in a jungle or a rainforest. You're still gonna look good when you wear this. Okay, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm so sorry. My cat wants attention so badly right now that I just... Oh, my nails! Oh my gosh, my name is Maria Adriana. You did not have to live my life, but I certainly hope you just learned something from it. Thank you for visiting The Other Half. Oh my God.